Welcome to the Rewriting Naruto series part 57. This is a series of videos where I rewrite Naruto, making changes to improve the story from a personal taste. Everyone make sure you like this video, we need those likes, alright? Takes 2 seconds. Also subscribe and ring those notifications if you haven't done so already, because it helps the channel out and you know when the videos come out. Now let's get going. Suigetsu laid in a boring hospital bed. He shared a room with a dozen other people, mostly shinobi, but there were civilians there as well. The medic ninjas had taken care of the wounds he sustained in Shark Island, and now he just wanted to get out of that place. So many hurt people, he winced whenever he saw them. He remembered the baby. He'd been having nightmares about it ever since. Even though the squadron sent to the island lost 7 of its 12 members, according to his brother, the Mizukage still considered the mission a success. They wiped out an eyesore to the Mist Village and the Land of Water. That Mizukage, if he was there, he wouldn't think it was a success, Suigetsu thought. The room fell quiet, and Suigetsu could hear whispering all around as Yagura, the 4th Mizukage, entered the room with Mangetsu by his side. It was as if thinking about the man summoned his presence. Well, man was too strong of a word. Yagura looked no older than 12, even though Suigetsu heard he was already an adult. He looks like you, the Mizukage told Mangetsu as he eyed Suigetsu, who perked up as they were approaching his bed. You have survived a great ordeal, boy. I'm looking forward to seeing what you'll be capable of. Suigetsu nodded nervously. Introduce yourself, Suigetsu, his brother prompted him with a brisk wave of his hand. Hello, I'm Suigetsu Hozuki, Lord Mizukage. Yagura barely acknowledged what Suigetsu said. His eyes were strange. It was almost as though he wasn't fully there. Say, when will you start the academy? Next week, sir. Very well, he said and left without elaborating. So strange. That man didn't strike Suigetsu as a brutal and merciless ruler, but everything indicated he was. He was the one forcing people from established clans like Suigetsu to become ninjas regardless of what they wanted to do, and the one ordering the elimination of entire populations. I think he liked you, Mangetsu said. What do you mean? He didn't care about me at all. Lord Mizukage is a bit eccentric. I'm glad I brought him here to take a look at you. Now, you just have to make sure you pass the academy exams. Yeah, I know, but that's years from now. I know, so you better not slack off. And I told you before, we don't have a choice. And trust me, it's much better to be strong than to be weak. Isn't that obvious? It may not be as obvious as you think. A week later, Suigetsu started the Ninja Academy. The classes were intense, but Suigetsu was ready. He was the top student of the class when it came to combat capabilities, having trained a lot with his brother beforehand, who now started teaching him water-style ninjutsu. A girl in his class caught his attention. Kai Terumi, Mei's sister. She looked just like her, but younger, and she was always sad. She never talked to anyone and never seemed enthusiastic about anything, especially when it came to practicing combat skills. She always ranked last in those. Some classmates made fun of her, which made Suigetsu mad. He knew why she was like that. Her brother had died recently, and she also lost her parents. Kai's eyes were just like Suigetsu's. They had seen horror, and after 2 weeks of class, he had never seen her lips curling into a smile. So Suigetsu made a decision. He would make her laugh. Somehow he would lift at least a bit of the horror from her eyes. Her sister Mei had been very helpful to Suigetsu, but that wasn't why Suigetsu was helping. He just wanted to make her life less miserable. Hey, do you wanna go train with me after class? Suigetsu asked Kai with a smile. She looked at him and turned away. Oh, come on, I wanna help you. She said nothing. Kai, I'm not gonna make fun of you. I wanna make sure they won't make fun of you anymore. She stood up and left. This is gonna be more difficult than I thought. The next day, Suigetsu once again tried to talk to her, but she said nothing. And now that he thought about it, Suigetsu didn't even know how her voice sounded. Kai, please, say something. I just want to be friends. I want to help. Leave me alone. She screamed and left once more. Well, at least she said something today. The next day, Suigetsu arrived early to the academy and waited for her to arrive. He stood at the entrance gate, and when she was about to pass by, Suigetsu said, Morning! How about some training after class? I told you to leave me alone. I'll only leave you alone if you talk to me. That doesn't make sense. How is it leaving? Let's do something fun after a class, alright? If you don't want to train, we can just do something cool. No, she said, turning away. During class, Suigetsu tried to send her a paper plane, but the sensei tossed a kunai and intercepted it midair. The blade landed on the wall right next to Suigetsu's head. This is not a place to play around, Suigetsu. Detention! You will stay later tonight. Some of the classmates laughed. Not Kai though, which made Suigetsu sigh. After class ended, the sensei made Suigetsu kneel on corn kernels for 5 hours, until late in the evening. It hurt a lot, but Suigetsu didn't mind the pain too much. He spent that time trying to figure out a way to make Kai smile, and the sensei almost seemed impressed by Suigetsu's resilience. While making his way home through the misty alleyways of the village, by chance, he saw Kai Terumi. She was hiding in a corner, in a dark alleyway in the fetal position, and she whimpered quietly. No way! She's crying all by herself out here? At night? Suigetsu thought, and he almost cried for her. Kai! He said, and she looked up. Her eyes were red, and her clothes were wet with tears. I told you to get away. You can talk to me. You don't have to stay here alone in the dark. Go away! Suigetsu weaved hand signs and shot a blast of water out of his palms towards Kai's face. The water splashed, drenching her entirely. What did you do that for? She stood up furious. I don't know. Felt like it. He smiled and shot water again, splashing her a second time. You idiot! Kai ran after Suigetsu, who bolted away. You're just like the others, making fun of me. I hate you! Suigetsu was faster than her. They ran through the mist village, and he made sure not to go too fast so Kai wouldn't lose him in the fog. Come back here! No! Suigetsu shot more water at Kai, splashing her face as she ran. Eventually, Suigetsu ran into a dead end in an alleyway. There was nowhere to go. He looked up and wished he had learned how to walk on walls to escape, but no, he didn't have to escape. He had to make sure she would laugh. Kai reached him and was right in front of Suigetsu. She was panting, and her face was a mix of sorrow and fury. She raised her hands, clenching her fists as if to punch Suigetsu, but she trembled and stopped herself. Her body coiled into the fetal position again, and she started to cry profusely. She wasn't even confident or strong enough, or she just didn't have the willingness to do anything against Suigetsu even after he splashed her. After catching up to him, she just couldn't move anymore. Kai, please, leave me alone. This time her voice was quiet. Only if you look up at me. Kai acquiesced, slowly turning her head up, and Suigetsu once more pointed his palms at her. But at the last second, he twisted his wrists and directed his palms at himself, unleashing now a full-powered water splash. The water impacted Suigetsu's face, and the power of the blow sent Suigetsu spinning backwards like a ragdoll. He hit the wall behind him with a grunt and fell to the ground. Oh my god, are you okay? Kai ran to him as Suigetsu grunted on the ground. She kneeled next to him. Not much. Ow. Why did you do that? Now we're even. You're splashed. I'm splashed. You know, I didn't want to be left out. Kai put her hand in front of her mouth, closing her eyes. She tried to contain herself, but she blurted out in laughter. Suigetsu couldn't help but to smile. He did it. He's gonna be feeling that tomorrow, but he did it. Stand up. You shouldn't stay on the ground. Suigetsu did so with another grunt. But now we're all wet, and it's kinda cold. Well, I can help with that. I can control water, you know, a little bit. Not great yet, but I'm getting there. Suigetsu weaved hand signs, and he made the water drenching both of them coalesce into a hovering orb, drying them. Whoa, that's cool. Kai leaned close to the orb, and Suigetsu smirked. He commanded the orb to splash in her face again. Why'd you do that? Sorry, I couldn't resist. You idiot! She raised her arms, and this time she punched Suigetsu over a dozen times. But they were not strikes meant to hurt. They were much more playful than anything. And he once again drained the water out of her clothes, drying her with his water-style ninjutsu. Well, now I know that you can smile. I'm so glad I did it. I'm sorry. You actually seemed kinda nice. It's just that... It's okay! Suigetsu grabbed her hand, and Kai blushed. When Suigetsu realized what he did, he blushed as well. You know, the offer's still up. We can train together if you want, and next time if someone makes fun of you in class, I'm gonna punch them. Please don't punch anyone. But they have to learn a lesson, and your skills, I mean, they're gonna be fine. I wasn't very good at the beginning either, and I got much more practice than you before, so you can get there. We can do it together. And even if you're not a genius, you can improve. It's just that I don't want to be a ninja, but my sister told me I have to. Suigetsu nodded. I understand. I'm the same, actually. I don't want to be a ninja, but my brother says I have to. I guess it's because we are from famous clans or whatever. So, you know, if we have to be be ninjas, it'll be better if we do it together, right? Kai nodded. I'm scared. My older brother, there was an accident during the academy training and he died. And my parents, they both died in shinobi missions. I miss them and I'm also afraid of dying. I don't want to end up like that. My brother's body, I'm never gonna forget that. It was mangled. I'll be there for you, Kai. I'll protect you, and if we stick together, we can make through the academy. It's gonna be fun even. But why? Why do you care about me? My parents also died during a mission, and now my brother takes care of me, just like your sister takes care of you. I just, well, have that connection, I guess. Kai nodded and smiled through her tears. Right, I think that would be nice. The rumble of an explosion hit their ears. The shockwave disturbed the mist around them. They heard shouts and weapons clashing. Those clashes came from the same direction they came from. The only direction they could go out of the alleyway. Suigetsu never wished to know how to walk on walls more than now. What the hell? Oh, come on. We have to get out of here, Kai. He pulled her by the hand. I have to get out of this alleyway and I have to get to an open part of town. What the hell is happening? An explosion? Inside of the village? Suigetsu thought as an imposing figure landed right in front of them. He felt a tingle in the back of his neck. That figure, it was a man. Zabuza Momochi, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. He carried the massive executioner's blade and it was drenched in blood, just like his entire body. Suigetsu locked eyes with him. No, that feeling. The creature standing in front of him wasn't a man. It was a demon. Suigetsu's legs turned into jello. He had to put all his willpower into remaining standing. With his weak legs, Suigetsu put himself in front of Kai, blocking her from the demon, and he unsheathed his sword, which wobbled like a thin twig in a storm. He pointed it at Zabuza, and the size difference between their swords was comical. Zabuza kept his gaze fixated on Suigetsu, and he narrowed his frightening eyes. They turned toward Suigetsu's trembling blade. Zabuza mumbled something Suigetsu didn't understand and jumped up, passing above them and zigzagged on the sides of the alleyway. 3 mist ambus came rushing from the rooftops of the houses on the alleyway, and they pounced at Zabuza, but Suigetsu just knew that was a horrible idea. Don't look, he told Kai, covering her eyes with his hands. But Suigetsu looked. Above on the rooftops, it took only 5 seconds for Zabuza to cleave the 3 ambu, cutting them in half. The remains fell trailing blood and landed in the alleyway below with disgusting impact sounds. Come on, let's go! Suigetsu pulled Kai. His legs were weak, but he managed to move. When they finally exited the alleyway, Suigetsu saw more signs of battle. Small craters and dead mist ninjas were scattered in front of them. Kai, where do you live? Near the market district. But my sister's on a mission. No one is home. It's okay. You can stay the night with us. When they got to Suigetsu's home, his brother wasn't there either. Maybe my brother's on a mission as well. I can take you back home then. No, I don't want to stay alone. But, are you sure? Yes, please let me stay. Of course. Suigetsu prepared the couch in the small living room of his home for Kai to sleep on. What happened out there? Kai was still very frightened. I have no idea, but we should go to bed now. It's getting late, and it's gonna be fine tomorrow. Good night. Suigetsu motioned to leave, but Kai grabbed his wrist. Please stay till I fall asleep. Yeah, of course. She laid on the couch, and Suigetsu sat next to her. Kai held his hand and closed her eyes. Suigetsu couldn't help but to keep on looking at her face. Morning, Mangetsu said. Suigetsu opened his eyes and realized he had fallen asleep on the living room floor, and Kai was on the couch. Suigetsu stood up quickly. Where's Kai? Don't worry. I was surprised when I got here and saw her, so I took her back home. Her sister arrived from her mission earlier today. That little girl, she was exhausted. She didn't even wake up when I ferried her over. Oh, okay. Suigetsu sat down on the couch. He blushed, realizing Kai had been sleeping there, and he blushed even more when he realized they slept practically next to each other. Wow. I never thought you'd get yourself a girlfriend this early. Good for you. Suigetsu blushed even more. She's not my girlfriend, it's just that we were on the street last night and something happened. I saw Zabuza killing mist ninjas, and she was way too scared to stay home alone, so I took her here, and I thought you would be home. Oh, you saw Zabuza? How do you look? Like a monster. I thought he was gonna cut me in half. Mangetsu narrowed his eyes. You're lucky he didn't. Over 20 mist ninjas died last night. What the hell happened? Zabuza attempted to assassinate Lord Mizukage. I have no idea why. Suigetsu could think of a few possibilities as to why, but he decided not to say anything. Thankfully, Lord Mizukage survived. Zabuza is a master assassin, probably the best in our village, and it was a very close call. When I heard those noises, I left to investigate. Sorry to leave you alone. I had to take care of business when I was out. That's fine. Did they find Zabuza? No, he fled the village and took one of the ninja swords with him. Mangetsu sighed. Hopefully the the Ambu hunters will retrieve it, but he's pretty strong and I have no idea where he's gonna go. Can't you use your scroll to summon it? Nope, he broke my summoning contract with a sword. The elders are furious with me, having a ninja swordsman going rogue and losing the precious weapon. Lord Mizukage thankfully didn't seem too worried. He knows I'm trustworthy, and he actually looked amused, even though he almost died, killed by Zabuza. That guy's a weirdo. Don't badmouth the leader of our village, Suigetsu. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, are you good friends with Mei's sister? Well, I think we became friends. How strong is she? She's actually at the bottom of the class. She doesn't have much talent, so I offered to train with her after classes. Do you think she could get really strong? I mean, I don't know, but why? Mei is very strong. She has 2 KK Genkai that she inherited from the Terumi clan. Her brother was not very strong though. He never got a KK Genkai. So I wonder what's the deal gonna be with his sister. Do you think she has potential like you? I don't think so. She's good with studying books and stuff, but when it comes to combat, she always struggles. That's why I want to help her with training, you know? Even if she doesn't turn out to be top of the class, she's gotta improve. Mangetsu looked awfully thoughtful, but he nodded. Of course, you should pursue that friendship. You can support her. And if she ever awakens a KK Genkai, I wanna know. Why? Because it's very dangerous, so if she awakens it, I wanna know so I can prepare you for that. Oh, cool, yeah. Make sure you treat her well in the academy and work with her there as well. I think you two can get along. Yeah, of course. The next day in the academy was awkward. For some reason, Suigetsu couldn't look or talk to Kai. It was so easy to do that before. Why was he so tense now? In the afternoon, the students were taken outside to practice shuriken throwing, and he thought he would be able to talk to her there, but still, he couldn't. Every time she got close to him, Suigetsu averted his gaze and walked away. During shuriken practice, Suigetsu hit his targets well, with a large percentage of the shuriken striking the center. He observed Kai intently when she wasn't looking, and what Suigetsu saw wasn't very encouraging. She was pretty terrible at tossing shuriken. They hardly ever hit the target at all, and they traveled the air without much speed and a weird jiggle. Ha! My grandma throws better than you! You're so trash! One of the boys of the class said, making fun of Kai. Suigetsu clenched his fists, and Kai lowered her head in shame. What? Are you too scared to toss a little shuriken? I think you should just give up right now. You'd never survive as a ninja. Tears fell down her cheek. Aww, are you gonna cry now? Did it hurt your feet? Suigetsu slapped him across the face with all his strength. The clap echoed around the academy courtyard, and the blow sent the boy to the ground with a red cheek. What was that for? I'm gonna tell my older brother. You're gonna... Suigetsu stepped on his mouth, putting his shoe into it and pressing down, pinning his head to the ground. The boy shrieked and wailed his arms and legs. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something about your brother? I couldn't understand you. Didn't he teach you not to speak with your mouth full? The class erupted into laughter. Go ahead, tell your big bro, and I'll tell mine. He's the leader of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen. Ever heard of him? The boy cried in desperation and humiliation with Suigetsu's foot in his mouth. Next time you speak a word to Kai, it's not gonna be my foot in there, it's gonna be my sword. Do you get it? The boy nodded, with his head still pinned to the ground, and Suigetsu lifted his foot. He stood up with a bleeding mouth and a few missing teeth. Whoopsie! Suigetsu said with a smirk. The boy ran away crying like a baby and left the academy premises to the amusement and laughter of the class. The sensei stopped beside Suigetsu, towering over him. Oh great, more detention, he thought. But the sensei gave Suigetsu a curt nod and walked away. Huh? No detention? He's fine with that? Okay then, Suigetsu thought, smiling. Kai, however, stood close to him and looked scared. Perhaps Suigetsu had been a little bit too brutal. I mean, you told me not to punch anyone. I didn't punch him. Kai barked to laugh despite herself. Alright everyone, shuriken practice is over. Let's head back in, the sensei said. After class, Suigetsu finally managed to speak to Kai again as they headed back home. Are you alright, Kai? Yes. That jerk? Why was he saying those things to you? It makes no sense. I think he just wanted to feel good about himself. Yeah, well, I don't think he felt so good, did he? Besides, I don't think anybody's gonna ever mess with you again. Yes, thanks to what you did. Kai was reserved. She seemed worried. Is everything alright? Like, really? Why, you told him. You said you'd kill him if he kept on bothering me. Did you mean that? Not really. I mean, I said that so he he'd be too scared to even try, and anybody else for that matter. But it sounded so real, like a promise. I don't want you to become a killer because of me. Suigetsu lowered his head. I already am one. What? My brother took me to a mission as an observer. I wasn't supposed to fight or anything, but things went wrong and we got ambushed. I had to kill several people. I didn't even realize what I was doing. But you did that because you had to survive, right? Well, yeah, at first. But then I just kept on going, kept killing. I didn't have to keep killing, but I did. I was just going. Kai was shocked. She didn't say anything. I killed way more than I had to, but killing is just what ninjas do, I suppose. They say every ninja has to do it eventually. I don't want to. Well, I don't want either. That's why I promised I would never ever kill again. But I don't think I can keep that promise. Yesterday when I saw Zabuza, I thought about killing him to save you. Of course, I would never be able to actually kill him because he's so much stronger, but the thought came to me. I guess I'm just corrupted or something, I don't know. No, you were trying to protect me. I saw you standing in front of me. You were very brave. I froze. I couldn't even move. Why do things have to be like that? So much violence. Kai started to cry. I don't want to live like this. I don't have talent, and I'm gonna be a terrible ninja. Suigetsu grabbed her hand. I told you, we can do this together. I will not kill again. I will find another way, and you won't have to do it either. For that, we have to get strong, you know? It's better to be strong than to be weak. Kai nodded. You know, you cried today when they were making fun of you, but you never cried before. Did something else happen? Kai blushed, and she turned her face away from Suigetsu. You were not looking at me the whole day. You didn't say a word. You were avoiding me. I thought you hated me. So when he told me those things, I just couldn't control my tears. That hit Suigetsu like a dagger to the heart. Before he realized, he found himself hugging Kai very tightly. I'm so sorry. No, of course I don't hate you. I was just embarrassed. Kai hugged him back. Never do that again, you idiot. Suigetsu and Kai began to practice their skills every day after the academy. Kai always brought some food from both of them because she lived close to the markets. Weeks passed by and she slowly improved. Kai would never reach Suigetsu's level, but he was glad she could get better. He was also glad he could spend so much time with her. Suigetsu was always eager for classes to end so he could practice with Kai. I'll never get even close to my sister, Kai said after a long training session. They both laid on the grass beneath a tree in the training grounds. Why do you say that? She has my mom's magma release and my dad's vapor release. 2 Keiki Genkai. She's really strong in every ninja ability, and I didn't get those things. I'll never be like her. You don't have to be like her, you know? But then she'll always be worried about me. You know, I've been lying to her. She would never let me train by myself with another classmate. I've been telling my sister that I'm staying longer in the academy studying overtime. Really? Yeah, if she found out she'd be furious and she would probably forbid me to see you again. Suigetsu smiled. Then let's not get found out. It's not funny. I know how you feel, Kai. My brother's also really strong. At least he lets you do things. He even took you on a mission, and I wish he hadn't. Kai regretted saying that to Suigetsu. Thank you, Suigetsu. I really like training with you. It's much better than training in the academy. She held his hand as they both laid on the grass. Suigetsu closed his eyes and enjoyed the cool night breeze. You know, one day I'll live somewhere nice and peaceful, just like this. Somewhere I'll do this the whole day. No fighting, no violence. That would be really nice. So you want to flee the village? Well, I want to, yeah, but I know that I can't. But you know, the village won't stay like this forever. Maybe one day they'll relax the rules. And if not, at least I'll do this when I retire. Miss Ninjas can only retire after they turn 65. Really? That's a long time. You didn't know this? Haven't you been paying attention in class? No, book stuff's so boring. I'm gonna have to help you studying for written exams, won't I? Suigetsu smiled with glee. It's gonna be fun. But 65? That's a long time. Only 1 out of every 10 Miss Ninjas ever gets that old. The others all die. That sent a shiver through Suigetsu's spine. When he thought about it, it certainly seemed true. There weren't many old Miss Ninjas. His parents were proof of that. Well, their deaths. He couldn't look worried for Kai though, so he put up a brave face. We're gonna make it though. I'll make sure of it. So you can live a relaxed life? Yep, Kai pouted. What? She turned her head away from him and let go of his hand. I bet you will enjoy yourself. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Don't you like this? We're gonna do all kinds of cool things like this. Kai quickly turned back towards him and held his head again. We? You mean we're gonna do this? Of course, we're gonna be together. Kai blushed furiously, and so did Suigetsu after he realized what he said. They didn't say another word to each other that night, but the silence was not unpleasant. What's wrong? Suigetsu asked his brother when he got home. He knew something was bothering Mangetsu because he was doing the characteristic slight frown at the forehead. Mangetsu gave an unnaturally long sigh. You'll find out sooner or later. Might as well tell you now. I lost another of the 7 swords. What? You did? Which one? Samehada. I'm sorry. I know you wanted that one. Really? Wow, I mean, was it really your fault? Did Fuguki leave the village like Zabuza? No. Fuguki is dead. Kisame killed him. And after that, he stole the sword and left the village. He was spotted fleeing with Samehada, and later we found Fuguki's body. I mean, if Kisame killed him, it's not your fault. I'm just kinda shocked that Kisame did it. He seemed pretty loyal to the village, at least in the Shark Island. Yes, that's what worries me. Kisame was the most loyal man I've ever known, and he betrayed us. The elders are furious, and we are down 2 swords. Why are they defecting like this? Are they idiots betraying the village? Once more, Suigetsu chose not to speak, but he could think of a dozen reasons as to why they would want to leave and betray the village. His brother, however, seemed very devout to the Mist Village and the Mizukage. Somehow, Suigetsu never developed that loyalty. The 2 brothers were alike in many aspects, but total opposites in others. You really care about the village, huh? Of course I do. It's my duty as a Mist Ninja, and it's gonna be yours as well, to carry on and protect our legacy. And also, I want to achieve my dream. Your dream? Yes, to become Mizukage. Since when? Since I was a kid, I guess. I always wanted to be Mizukage, just never told anyone really. But now, I feel like I'm very strong, and if I keep on getting stronger, I could be Mizukage. That was a good thing. If Mangetsu ever became Mizukage, he could certainly let Suigetsu leave the village with Kai, or at least allow them not to be ninjas. Alright, that's a great dream. I'll support you any way I can. Mangetsu patted Suigetsu's forehead. Thank you, little bro. Mangetsu smiled. My brother wants to be Mizukage one day. I think that's nice. If he's Mizukage, you know, he could free us in a way. Suigetsu told Kai as they were heading back home after an evening training session. Wow, that's a great goal. And your brother's strong. I'll be rooting for him. They heard a loud scream. It startled Kai. Suigetsu looked around them, trying to find where it came from, and he saw a woman. She was killed by a man a dozen meters behind them. The killer was a man with dark, long hair tied in weird braids, wearing white robes. He wielded a white sword that seemed to be made out of bone. What the? Suigetsu unsheathed his sword, looking at the man. Civilians all around them started to run away in utter shock. Mist ninjas jumped to intercept him, but they were shot by small bone projectiles. They fell dead on the ground. The bones were shot by another man who looked similar to the first one. They had unhinged expressions on their faces. They seemed to be enjoying themselves, and their eyes were bloodshot. Before more Mist ninjas could arrive, screams of pain and agony erupted all around the village, and with those screams came laughter, the laughter of the ones killing. Come on, Kai, we gotta hide! Suigetsu grabbed her by the hand and ran. He did everything he could to slip unnoticed through the chaos. Hundreds of those weird people using their bones as weapons raided the village. Shuriken, bones, and ninjutsu flew in all directions as the battle raged. Suigetsu blocked several projectiles with his sword, protecting himself and Kai, who he still held with his other hand. What's happening? She screamed in tears. The village's getting attacked. We have to get out of the battlefield. Suigetsu thought about seeking shelter inside a building, but these barbarians were setting them on fire. They killed and died with unhinged smiles on their faces. I have to take Kai to safety, no matter what. Suigetsu thought as he saw a boy, not much older than himself, killing one Mist ninja after the other, including Jonin's. His movements were elegant and precise. He used bone attacks, but unlike the others, his hair was white, and his eyes and face were calm, emotionless. It was absolutely bad news. Suigetsu would have no chance against that angel of death. Over here! Suigetsu pulled Kai to a narrow alleyway to avoid that boy. The buildings to the right caught on fire, so Suigetsu put himself between Kai and the fire, using his ninjutsu to drench both of them and protect her from the flames. They kept running until they reached a garden, but the grass wasn't green, it was red, stained in blood. Dozens of corpses laid there from both ninjas and civilians, and one of the invaders teenagers pierced a dying woman's back with his hand. She yelped in pain on the ground as the end of his fingers, which he turned into sharp claw-like extensions, entered her back. After killing her, he stood up and smiled, looking at Suigetsu. The alleyway behind them burned with rage, so they couldn't go back. Oh, I got 2 more kids to play with. That's perfect, the man said. The midsection of the top of his head was bald, but the sides of his hair were braided just like the others. His eyes lusted for blood, and Kai let out a weak yelp of terror. Please cry more, little girl. I love it when they cry and beg. Kai, stay behind me. The barbarian pointed his fingers at Suigetsu and shot 5 bone claws at him. Suigetsu swirled his sword, and with a single fast motion, he deflected all 5 of them, sending the bones to different directions. The little boy knows how to fight. That's perfect. A jagged and curved bone blade emerged from his right hand knuckles, and he dashed at Suigetsu, cackling in laughter. Suigetsu met him with his sword. He thought his blade would pierce the bone blade, but it didn't. That was not regular bone. It was so much tougher. The madman swung wildly in a sequence of deranged and powerful strikes. The bone blade was attached to his knuckles, giving him even more force behind the attacks. However, Suigetsu's technique was much more refined than his, so he could redirect the force of his strikes. But that man wouldn't get tired. He just kept attacking. I have to goad him into an overswing strike and counterattack on his opening. I'll make him lower his blade and slash his head. Suigetsu thought and assumed a defensive stance to fight passive. What is this, little boy? Too scared? The man kept on swinging without any care in the world until he raised his blade above his head and smashed it towards Suigetsu. But Suigetsu was ready. He knocked the bone blade to the side, and the overswing knocked the man off balance. Suigetsu jumped and slashed at his head. The steel edge hit his forehead, but it didn't cut through. Rather, the man's skull stopped the extremely sharp blade. Those bones, they were extremely tough. Suigetsu tried to pull back his sword, but it became stuck, wedged in the skull bone. Suigetsu couldn't yank it out, and that left him vulnerable. The bone blade hit Suigetsu, slashing him across the chest, ripping his flesh. He flew back with the force of the blow and fell down, leaving his sword stuck to the man's head. He clutched his chest, trying to stop the bleeding, and Kai came running to him. Suigetsu! Kai, run! I'll buy you as much time as I can. Suigetsu stood up with a pool of blood forming beneath him. He so wished he had awakened the hydrification jutsu now. I'm not leaving you. Never. How cute. You'll both die together. The man tossed his bone blade out of his knuckles like a frisbee. Kai pulled Suigetsu down and he passed above them. I'll fight him. You're too hurt, Suigetsu, and you don't have your sword. No, you can't fight him yet. Please go. Save yourself. I'm not leaving you. The man yanked Suigetsu's sword out of his forehead and snapped the steel blade with his bare hands in half, tossing each part in an opposite direction. It's so over! Bone claws grew from the man's right hand fingers, and he pierced his own face with them. The bone at the tip of his fingers fused itself with the bone of his skull, and he slowly pulled his own skull out of his face. It was connected to the hand, creating a club. He then extended a long bone out of his arm after pulling his skull completely out, making the club even longer, but still attached to his arm. His face was opened and bleeding. The skull on his head recreated its bone, but the skin on his face wouldn't close, creating an appearance out of nightmares. I'm gonna bash you in like watermelons, he said, brandishing his skull club connected to his arm. Suigetsu once more stood up. You can't fight him like this, Kai pleaded. It's either that or dying without doing anything. Suigetsu pulled a kunai from his satchel. Don't worry, my brother taught me a new jutsu. It just takes me a bit for me to use it. I'm not great with it yet, but I can do it. Suigetsu readied himself. He knew deep inside he had no chance of winning this fight. He was just trying to comfort her. The best he could do was to stall the enemy and hope reinforcements would arrive soon enough, but he would gladly give his life to save Kai's. I have to at least try and create an opening for that jutsu. Suigetsu thought, come little boy! Suigetsu roared, pumping himself with adrenaline and rushed that monster of a man with his kunai. The barbarian swung his skull club at Suigetsu, who ducked, swinging his kunai and piercing the man's chest. But the kunai didn't pierce deep enough. The ribs, they were too rough, and the kunai got caught in it. The man turned his left hand fingers into needles in skeletal form. He slashed at Suigetsu with them, but Suigetsu pulled away, taking his kunai out of his chest and dodged another club strike. The club was slower than the bone blade before, but Suigetsu was also slower because of the blood loss. As the man kept on swinging his club, his open face spilled out droplets of blood with remnants of muscle and skin. Suigetsu re-engaged, trying to strike with his kunai, but he stumbled. The man smashed his right hand, shattering his hand bones with his club and sending the kunai away. Suigetsu screamed in horrific pain, but his scream was quickly interrupted by a second club strike. The skull club crushed the side of his torso, splintering his ribs, and Suigetsu flew at a wall of the garden. The concrete cracked upon Suigetsu's impact, and he fell to the ground. Blood gushed out of his mouth and nose, and he felt his insides were torn apart. He began to choke on his own blood as more and more came up his throat. Suigetsu! Kai screamed. It's too late. He's not gonna help you out anymore, little girl. The man said, turning to Kai with a maniacal smile, ready to strike her. Suigetsu coughed out the blood obstructing his breathing and stood up totally dizzy. A black tunnel was beginning to close around his vision, but he concentrated and pointed his index finger, the one that wasn't mangled, at the man. Cry, little girl, cry! I enjoy it! No, please, no! Yes, cry! A drop of blood that had splashed on Suigetsu's arm ran along his hand and stopped at the tip of his finger. Only one chance, Suigetsu thought. What's your last wish, little girl? Hey, bonehead, I'm still alive. The man turned to Suigetsu in surprise. Oh, I see. Well, now I'll bash in your skull. Suigetsu shot the drop of blood right into the man's eye. The bullet entered his brain and his legs bent down as he flopped to the ground after his nervous system shut down. Got him, Suigetsu said, and fell down as well. Everything went dark. Watch part 58 right here. Please like the video to help me out. It takes 2 seconds. Make sure you're subscribed and that you ring the notifications because it helps me out a lot. And comment below what you thought about this episode. Thank you so much for watching.